got the boy,
Nate Diaz.
Nate Diaz.
Can you see on mine? Represent.
There it is. Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson.
Yup, man. So originally Nate Diaz was scheduled to fight Khamzat Chimaev. All this drama goes down backstage. A bunch of people are fighting. There's a weight cut issue. The doctor tells Chimaev apparently that he's not allowed to cut any more weight.
Yeah.
Khamzat says, I feel like I could have kept on cutting. Ultimately, it leads to the scramble for the UFC to start moving fights around, right?
Yeah. Musical chairs.
And it ends up turning into Diaz versus Ferguson, which in my eyes, I believe in your eyes as well, much better matchup for both Tony Ferguson and for Nate Diaz, right?
Yeah, way better than the original plan for the main event and co-main event. When it was like when it was kind of getting closer and closer, and you're like, all right, Nate's fighting at 170 because why? He's fighting Khamzat, a killer. Tony's fighting at 170. Why? They're both towards the end of their career. Like, they're on the same card. They should just be fighting each other. That's what everybody was saying. Like, why are these guys both fighting young killers? They should just be fighting each other. The reason they're fighting young killers is because the UFC is trying to railroad Nate Diaz before he leaves. But ultimately, the MMA gods give him a gift for his long career, and the shakeup happens, and then he ends up fighting Tony. And
we've seen the UFC do this before, right? It's not just with Nate Diaz, but it's with any veteran that has a big name, and they have these young killers coming up, and they're like, well, how can I still get more juice to squeeze, right? And the way I can get more juice to squeeze for somebody that's on their way out at the end of their career is putting them up against somebody that we're trying to build up so that their name starts growing too, based off of them beating their name, their recognized name.
Yeah, it's like the UFC. They're like, we built up this guy's value. Why should he get to capitalize on it without us? So let's sap that value that we built with him and give it to a new prospect so we can build them up. And then once they are at the end of their career, they're going to sap it from them too.
Let's take a withdrawal is pretty much what they're thinking. We've been depositing. Let me withdraw all that, get my ROI, my return on investment, and we'll put it into my next investment, right? Because that's essentially how the UFC views their fighters.
But what's even funnier is with Nate Diaz, it's like they weren't really making those deposits. Despite their best efforts, Nate became who he is now. They tried to keep him down his entire career. They weren't making the deposits. They weren't meeting him halfway. He kind of had to do it himself and speak for himself on that and earn it himself. And then, so I think even more so, they were like, we got to move this over to Khamzat. We got to tank this value before he goes and boxes Jake Paul, all this stuff. But whatever.
It ended up working out at the end.
Yeah, everybody says there's no happy endings. And the theme of this night, well, for some of them, was some people say there's no happy endings in MMA, right? It always ends bad. BJ Penn, all these guys end up, it's not great. Chuck Liddell's getting knocked out left and right, all this stuff. Here we had a happy ending.
Hey, by the way, when the camera pans over to BJ Penn and he just gives that the dead stare, it's so awesome. But anyway, so Nate Diaz coming out. Mm-hmm. The thing that I loved from Nate, I felt like right off the bat, there was more pressure from Nate. He was checking kicks. He was
aggressive early,
Yes. He was delivering kicks more in the first round than I can remember in a while.
Yeah, it's hilarious because it's Nate's last UFC fight on his contract. And finally he starts checking leg kicks. Yeah. It's insane to me.
It only took 15 years.
Yeah, it took 15 years. And then also on top of that, it's like we have Nate, who his face is a mess with scar tissue. He bleeds every single fight. And he doesn't check leg kicks. And he's fighting a guy who is notorious for making people bleed, right? And it ended up Tony is the one bloody in the face, bloody on his shin from Nate checking leg kicks. Like, this was just a Twilight Zone. This stuff doesn't happen in MMA at the end of people's careers. It just doesn't.
Yeah. And Diaz comes out this time saying, nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Yeah.
And dude, nobody. No, but I just love watching this fight. And you have Ferguson, who's very unorthodox.
Yeah.
You have Diaz, who's very unorthodox. You put them both together, and it creates a really fun matchup.
It was very fun. And shout out Regeneration Nation TV. Good morning, my dudes. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on every week. But yeah,
Diaz,
the matchup. Go
the
ahead.
1-2, and the way he
Always.
sets up the 1-2 over and over again, you know exactly what Nate Diaz is going to do, and he always finds a way to land that 1-2, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's him feinting with the right hook, and it looks like he's going to go through with it, but he just comes right in with the left, the jab followed by the left, where it's almost thrown at the same time.
Yeah. Oh, it's like it's right behind it. It's
And
right
my
behind it.
personal favorite is where he lifts his leg up like he's going to kick, and while
Yeah.
his leg's still up, he goes, pop, pop. He
Yeah.
just throws the 1-2 right after that. It's so much fun to watch. And I remember leading up to the fight, they asked Diaz, how hard is it to switch opponent in such short notice?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I was prepping for Hamzat. I guess I'm going to go watch some video on Tony tonight.
He's
But you
like,
know what? I think he did a really good job, man, because
well, what's funny, real quick, before you move on or before you keep going, he did. There's videos of him at the Motley Crue concert on Friday night, sitting there on his phone watching Tony Ferguson fights.
yeah,
He
he
actually
took
did go and watch his
like a
fights.
professional.
Yeah,
And
consummate
one of the
professional
things
Nate
that
Diaz.
perfect timing, Rich, putting the picture up right on time. It's like he's reading my mind. Is that
Yeah,
Ferguson, when exiting, does a really good job with the spinning elbows, the spinning back fists. He finds a way to attack, right? When you least
in those
expect it.
weird spots. Yeah,
In those weird spots. And every single time Ferguson threw something like that, Nate was expecting it. Every single
yeah.
time. I thought he was going to land at least 2 or 3 of those. Not this
Mhm.
time. Not
Well,
this time.
there was something too. Also, shout out Regeneration. I was looking forward to the show all night and morning, is what he said. Very cool.
Oh, I
But
appreciate it, Regen. Thank you.
but Nate early on in this fight, he kept doing this thing. Anytime Nate would advance, right? Nate would advance, and Tony would go. He'd throw and then turn away and kind of be there a little too long. And he used to move really well like that. He would dart out on these weird angles and then he'd be gone or he'd catch you with something as you try to pursue it. And this time it just wasn't there. Every time he would turn like that, Nate would just bop, 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 just a couple hooks real quick. Those battering hooks, with where you're not hitting the clubbing hooks, right? Where you're not turning into it. You're just hitting them with like the whole club of it. And yeah, I don't know. I think watching this fight, my initial reaction halfway through the first round was Hamzat would have killed Nate and the Leech would have killed Tony. Thank
Mm,
God these guys are fighting each other because
yeah.
they both looked a step behind from what they normally are. I thought Nate looked better than Tony did. I think Tony's probably I think his legs just aren't there. He can't move the way he used to. But I thought Nate did a fantastic job. This was a classic Nate fight, honestly. He just pitter patters you with the boxing. You're gonna chew up his legs until he forces you to make a mistake, and then he wins.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
And there was something else that I really liked because Nate made an adjustment
Mm-hmm.
halfway through the fight. Not even halfway through the fight. He made it early where he
Mm-hmm.
did see that Tony was trying to exit quickly. Like you said, he'd come in, lower his shoulder, and kind of try to run out, right, and take a corner and
Yeah.
run around. And so Nate started throwing the 1-2, the right, left, and then he'd come in with the right
That body
kick,
kick.
whether it's
Yeah.
body kick or leg kick. But he said, let
Dude.
me tag him one more time on the exit. And he did such a good job with that too.
Yeah, the follow-up shot where you don't expect it. And that's something that Tony normally he is out of range in those situations, but in this fight he just wasn't. And it's credit to Nate for the pressure also, but I think it also has a little bit to do with his knees being absolutely shot. But yeah, the corner in between he got him what in the fourth round? Yeah. After the third round, they go to Tony's corner and they're like, at some point in this round, put him down, take him down. And I was watching with Kevin and my brother and Katie and Brian's wife, but
Hey, shout out to
we
all
were
those
like,
folks.
yeah, we were like, after they said that, we're like, okay, corner, let me just go out there and put him down, and then, like it's easy, like it's that easy, and then man, as soon as Tony shoots, as soon as he shoots, he gets him in the guillotine. He butt scoots out to adjust it even more, and live. They were like, "Oh, it's tight," and it didn't even look like he connected his hands for the guillotine. And I was like, "He's just got him with one arm. What are they talking about?" And then all of a sudden he's tapping, and I was like, "What the fuck?" did he just get him with a one-arm guillotine, just like big brothered him? And then obviously you can see it fish through a little bit.
Yeah, he like barely grabs onto the edge of
Just
his
a little
fingers.
bit. Just a
Yeah.
little bit. And yeah, I thought it literally could not have gone better. It was a
Yeah.
competitive fight. It was close. The early first few minutes of each round looked very good for Tony, and then Nate just came on strong at the end of every single round, was kind of battering him a little bit. Uh, Nobody got seriously hurt, even though in this picture Tony looks a mess. His whole shin is covered in blood from that leaking shin, and the whole right side of his face is bleeding. But
Yeah.
no
Hey,
one
but
was
it's
ever
not a
rocked.
Ferguson fight without that, you know?
I know, but usually the other guys look like that. But I couldn't have been happier, man. It was the fact that he finishes his UFC career with a guillotine choke as soon as someone shoots against a legend like Tony at 2:09
Yeah.
on the clock, and then Joe gives him a fantastic interview in there. It was just, I mean, it was perfect.
Couldn't have been written better.
It literally could not have.
Right.
If it,
And taking a look at this picture, man, I just think a couple legends. I love the fact that that Nick Diaz was in there too.
Dude, the
At the
whole
end,
crew.
the whole crew was in there with him too. He starts talking about what he's gonna do in his future. He wants to take over,
Another
the boxing
sport.
game, the jiu-jitsu game.
Yeah.
He's like, just hit me up.
Yeah.
And the thing that people need to understand, like I've been reading, some folks are like, dude, there's no way he's gonna become a boxing champion. In Nate's head, taking over the game or taking over the profession is not becoming the champion. It's going over there, doing major numbers, major pay-per-view numbers, everybody talking about him and his fight afterwards.
And
And for
winning.
him, he won that game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's
So
already talking about how he's like, yeah, this is a twofer on this weekend. I already beat Hamza. He didn't make it to the fight. So I already beat him. So I'm 1-0 against him. And I just got to beat Tony.
he's
But
so funny, man.
yeah, this was, I mean, yeah, it was everything I could have wanted, honestly. The walkout was incredible. He walks out to Give Me Shelter by Rolling Stones. And then you see him walking out, and he's got Nick there. He's got Richard Perez there, Randy Spence, Richard Perez. Like, I was just like, man, Cesar Gracie's
Chris
there.
Avila, who's been with him for a
Yeah.
long time, right?
Yeah. Cesar Gracie's in the back. And like, Cesar Gracie's wearing a Represent shirt and jeans. He's not wearing the fucking Venom kit. Like, I was like, this is great, dude. This is just exactly what. I mean, and walking out to the Rolling Stones, that song specifically, I was like, damn, this is so sick.
And last
Very
night
cool.
was a very good reminder that Nate is a bona fide superstar, man.
Despite the
He
UFC's best
is
efforts.
huge.
Yeah.
People
Massive.
showed up
Yeah.
to watch Nate Diaz. We
Yeah.
had fighters, trainers that showed up to watch Nate Diaz.
Yeah. You think
The
BJ would be there
pay-per-view
if it weren't for
numbers?
Nate?
No.
Hell no.
The pay-per-view numbers are because of Nate Diaz. Think about it. This is Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson main event, not for a title.
No title fight. Yeah.
But there was a lot of chatter behind it
Yeah.
because
I
of
think,
Nate Diaz.
yeah, I think, and Regen just put in the chat too. I enjoyed the main event immensely. It was so much more than just the fight itself. Context matters.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Because if you look at it without context, right? It's like, okay, Tony's 38. Nate is 20 and 13 coming into this fight. He's 37. It's the last fight on his contract. They're both not ranked. I don't think, at least they shouldn't be. Maybe Tony's still ranked at lightweight for some reason. But yeah, like Bruce Opter said, without context, yeah, this is that. But
Without context.
if you don't follow the sport, then yeah, that's exactly what this looks like. But if you follow the sport and you know who these guys are, it makes all the sense in the world that they're the main event. And it was exactly what I think everybody should have hoped for. And I think it was that. I thought it was perfect.
You know who agrees with Bruce Bobtrotter is Dustin Poirier. So
yeah, of course he's gonna say
taking
that.
a look at the tweet that he said, the Bum Olympics, UFC 279, with a picture of Ferguson and Nate there, right?
Yeah, yet Dustin's trying to take the fight.
Dustin might be hanging out with Bruce Bobtrotter. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're
While
sitting on the
Dustin
couch.
says this, he's also simultaneously trying to get on a private jet to take the fight. So
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
What are we doing here, Dustin?
Exactly. And then there was another reaction. I don't know if you've heard of this guy. His name's Conor, I think. Conor McGregor. But he posts on there, congrats, Nate Diaz, on making it to the end of his contractual obligations with the UFC. And as a bona fide superstar goer, an incredible feat. Fair play. Our trilogy will happen. So question to you, will we see that trilogy ever?
Yes, we will, and I don't know if it'll be in the UFC.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think
maybe like a Diaz / McGregor production.
I think so. Why should Dana get the cut? Conor's on 2 fights. I think 2 fights left on his deal. If he bangs those out, he's juicing up without USADA, and he'll come back and get a couple wins maybe, and then he goes and fights Nate somewhere else. They do it themselves. I think that's what'll probably happen.
That would be huge.
Yeah,
that would be
because
huge.
Why would Tony or why would Dana get a cut for that? He doesn't need a cut of that. The UFC would take so much money from them if they do that. They do that on themselves, and they can make the card whatever they want to make the card underneath them.
Millions. They make millions.
Yeah, way more than they would make. All the sponsorship money would go to they would just make so much more money.
Proper
Regent says
octagon,
Yeah, Regent says that he blames a lot on Tony's corner. Seemed Tony's corner advice was basically stop being Tony. This is a good point. Because Tony went to Jackson Wink or Jackson's, whatever it is now, for this fight. He switched. He's like, okay, finally, I'm doing a real training camp. I'm not doing my weird bullshit by myself and just bringing guys in to train with and doing backflips off mats and shit like that. He's like, I'm going to a legitimate camp now. 38 years old, probably a little bit too late, but this is what happens, right? This is the weird thing, and it's happened a bunch of times in combat sports, not just MMA, but you take an unorthodox guy who's gotten to the highest of highs being unorthodox, and then you take him to a structured coach. And then what do you do as the structured coach? Do you try to teach him how to jab and put the 1-2 together and exit on angles and do all the fundamentals? Or do you say, look, man, this is what you do. This is why you had success, is you're so unorthodox. But I don't know how to teach that because that's you. That's not me as a coach. And then usually what ends up happening is you do start to try to make them conform to the fundamentals, and it ends up it's not what they're good at. So it ends up in a weird spot, and I think that's probably a little bit of what happened here. Regent also says when he was turning around doing weird stuff, I was loving it. Yet they were telling him to stop constantly. Yeah, I mean, it's a little too late.
That because he did that his entire career. The weird stuff that Regent's talking about right now, he did that his entire career. And it took him on one of the best runs the UFC has ever seen, a 12-fight win streak.
Yeah. In my opinion, there's a handful of guys that are uncrowned champs that never really got their due as a champion. Tony was a champ. Let's be real. Yep. He was beating everybody. He was a champ. And it got him there. And you go to the fact that he went to Greg Jackson, too, of all camps, it's like, I don't even think John Jones is there anymore. Like, what do they have? Holly Holm? Like, they're a shell of what they used to be.
Michelle Watterson?
Yeah. And exactly. Furthering the point. But yeah, Jack Slack was talking about that, and he was like, it's like he picked a camp based off when he was coming up in the sport that he heard all these good things about and was like, well, I got to go to a real camp. That's the best one. And like never actually looked into it. Just like went back on like what he was hearing back when he started.
Needed Eddie Bravo in his corner.
Yeah, exactly.
Look into it.
Yeah, look into it.
But I did want to mention too, we have fighters who have a large following from fans, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like there's only a core set of fighters that part of the large following is other fighters. And when you see other fighters, other trainers be such huge fans, there's a video right here that just shows front row after Diaz win, their reaction. Rich, if you want to go ahead and play it. I mean, look at this. Look at those folks. You have everybody from Paulo Costa, right? Perillo. Look at that. Merab and Aljamain Sterling. You have the dime piece there. Yeah. And, dude, look at that. Cheeto Vera. And you see all these people just celebrating the victory. You know, they all love Nate Diaz. Everybody loves Nate Diaz.
It's like MF
He's
Doom.
One of the realists.
MF Doom, you know, your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. That's exactly. Nate Diaz.
It was a fun night, fun to watch. That's all I have to say about the main event. Will, do you have anything else?
If you haven't watched the post-fight press conference that Nate Diaz did, it's fantastic.
Hey, everybody, Romero and Will here. Thank you so much for watching that short clip. It's just a small clip of what we covered this last Sunday.
Yeah, if you want to check out the full fight card recap, the link is in the description, and it's going to be on screen at the end here. And don't forget to go back and watch our fighter interviews that we have. And don't forget to tune in live every Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, and you can join in on the fun.
Yeah, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It goes a long way. All right, everybody, thanks for watching that short clip from Story of the Fight.